All right, Ilana, you want to pick up where we left off?
All right, let me see here. Okay. Okay. So any I basically any recipe can work for this. Um but I also wanted to bring up the fact that you could do something that's a little bit more conceptual. So let me just make that a little bit bigger. So this there was a series of illustrations in a for an illustration gallery in New York, and the book was called Recipe for Disaster. And so they asked all these illustrators to create these recipes, and some of them were very traditional, but many of them were very kind of outrageous and hilarious. And this is one of them. This is Paul Corio's Squandered Youth. So if you wanted to do something that was a little bit more conceptual and fun and interesting, that's another route for you to take. Like just super funny, like stuff like this. This is a recipe. This is Melinda Beck's recipe for Manhattan. So, concrete and discarded gum, garnished with a rat's head, just very like weird and wonderful. Another thing, um, so there's a website. It's called They Draw and They Cook. And if you decide that you are going to do this, you actually could upload it to this website if you do it within their size parameters. But I saw that they're actually doing, I don't know if any of you are on Instagram or if you make images for Instagram. There's a kind of a certain size criteria. It's almost like a perfect square, essentially. So if you did a recipe that was that size, you could actually upload it to this website and you'd be part of a community of people who illustrate recipes. So this is from They Draw and They Cook, a beautiful example of how to create um, a recipe that has, let's say you have a lot of like steps and you have a lot of ingredients. And so how do you sort of organize that in a way that's aesthetically pleasing or functional, really? This is pumpkin pie parfait. So you see like the images at the bottom, a beautiful way that they've introduced the title of the piece and then the ingredients and the directions up at the top. Just very charming after school peanut butter cookies. Very, very simple. So very simple ingredients, very simple directions here, and this charming little illustration. And then this is you don't have to do, it's not limited to food. Let's say that you had a recipe for like um a sort of drink that maybe your mother or your sister used to make, or like a cup, like a coffee or a tea or even a mixed drink that's also acceptable. Um, so one of the things that you want to start out with, start thinking about after you've picked your recipe, you feel like you've edited it down, um, start thinking about the size of the paper or the size of if you're doing it digitally, what size file are you going to be working with? Do you want to have it horizontal or vertical? Um, when you start doing your sketches for this piece, think about the correct proportions of it. So if you're going to be doing an illustration that's, you know, this particular size and shape, your sketch should emulate that. So, like the way that I did, let me go back. Like the way that I was doing these sketches. So I was really thinking about the proportion of 8 by 10 um for the one piece, and then, you know, double that if I'm doing a double spread. So if that's something that you're interested in, maybe, 8 by 20. for that piece. Let me go back. And then so after you finish your sketches, your next step is to really think about how you're going to be coloring this piece. So if you know that a particular part of the recipe involves, like, let's say that you're doing like a cheesecake or something like that. So you know that the cheesecake is going to be a kind of a creamy yellow color, and the crust is going to be like, graham crackers. So it's going to be a sort of a very specific um, brown color. So the way that I start coloring is that I block out what I know needs to be a certain color. So I'm going to go back to the my tort piece. So I knew that certain torts needed to be certain colors. So I'm gonna zoom in on this a little bit. So I knew that I had there was certain ingredients. So a specific tort might, this one had like a raspberry filling. Another tort had like some kind of chocolate ganache on it. Another one had blackberry. This other one had a kind of an almond, and each one um had very specific ingredients. So all of that got blocked out first. And then I started thinking about the other colors. Okay, well, now what can I play around with? So if I know that the cakes are this color, or is there anything that I can do to sort of showcase that specific color, uplift that color? Do I want to play down certain things? So when I was thinking about this one, I thought, well, that's really, it's going to be blackberry. So I'm going to make the entire thing, these sort of purplish blues. The one in the to the side of it had a lot of almond in it, so I kind of wanted to capture a little of that. Um, and this one had a kind of a hazelnut to it, so I fit that in. And then, um, this one I kind of wanted to play around, and I wanted it to sit back because I knew that it was going to be very colorful behind it. So I wanted to showcase that specific tort a little bit more. Um, and so once you start blocking out the most important things, then you can start adding in colors that, will accentuate and bring out your specific food color. So you do your little, um, think about your colors, think about how you want to do your specific recipe, and then I think that sometimes it's however you work. Like, let's say that you're working traditionally. I find that it's easier for me to do my color schemes with color pencil. It's something I can work fast with. Sometimes I've used markers, so maybe that's something that you can do that'll be a little bit faster for you, more helpful for you. If you're working digitally, maybe you do things on different layers, and then play around with the hue, because sometimes you can discover like, oh, wait a minute, I never thought about using this specific color with this particular layout. I thought maybe this was just going to look good with yellow, but now I see green is where it's at. So and then you just move to your finish. So I know this class is a very short class. It's basically how long, you know, it's usually about an hour, Kelly, right? So I thought maybe what we could do is, if you had a recipe with you, or if you had a recipe that you sort of had in mind, um, let me stop sharing this. if you had a kind of a recipe in mind that if you would like to start doing some sketches for it, just do like a quick little layout for it that, if we had time, maybe we could look at a few and just talk about it a little bit. So I don't know how you guys felt about that.
Yeah, maybe if anyone has any questions for you, they can ask you
Yeah.
while some of us might start sketching, and then we can share at least a recipe that you have an idea that you might want
Yes.
illustrated someday, or just the title of it, the ingredients, or something,
Mhm.
a little story about it, since we do have about 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
first off,
So,
does anyone have any questions for you, Lana? I have a question.
yes.
When you were doing the sketching and stuff, did you have to worry about your text or font, or how did you think about the words along with your pictures?
So it was really open, and I wasn't, um, I knew that the editor had said to me, however you want to do, if you want to do hand lettering, we're open to that as long as it's like legible and people can read it. And there's tons of fonts out there that look like hand lettering. So if your lettering is like okay, but not great, not legible, that's another option for you. And there's so many free fonts out there. There's a company called Dafont, Dafont, dafont.com. They have tons of free fonts that you can just use, for personal projects. And even ones that you can pay for, you can use them commercially. Um, there's another one that's free, and there's other free ones. If you're part of, if you subscribe to Adobe, they have free fonts that you can use. There's also Font Squirrel, and they have tons of free. I know it's funny. They have tons of free fonts that you can also use. Or this is like a trick that we use in design and illustration is you get a font, um, you let's say you type out your story, print it out, take a piece of tracing paper and a light box and trace over all the lettering. And that way you get the perfect spacing. You get a handwritten font that looks great, maybe a little wonky, but you've basically solved your problem of like, how am I going to make this look good? And like sometimes when you're writing, you tend to like you're favoring a certain way that you're doing it. And so ends up your font is like kind of skewing down to the right. And so tracing it with some tracing paper immediately solves that problem. Other people like to use a grid method. So let's say that you're like, okay, my handwriting is really good, but I do have a problem where I'm like spacing is a problem. I use grid paper all the time. And so I will take a piece of grid paper, use a light box, put a piece of tracing paper over the top of it, and then I will, basically put my lettering right over the top of it. And I'm following the grid all the way down, and it's neat as a pin. So it's another really easy, like, way for you to get away with it, basically.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So the tracing of the fonts is a long held tradition. It's something I suggest to our students all the time because a lot of people don't, they're just kind of developing their handwriting. And, if you're have any sort of if your handwriting is a little wonky, that's okay. Sometimes it's really wonderful to see really charming lettering. Maybe your penmanship is exceptional, or this is another thing. Let's say that you have your grandmother's recipe for something, muffins, blueberry muffins. Your grandma was the best at it. And your grandmother um had excellent penmanship and wrote this whole recipe out with her beautiful handwriting. You can incorporate it into this. You can always, if you don't have a scanner, you can scan it, um, upload it, Or you could even take a photocopy of it, blow it up, retrace it, with your tracing paper, or incorporate it, if you're working digitally, you can just sort of incorporate into the image. So then you get, you're basically commemorating your grandmother with her beautiful handwriting, and then you're adding to it by making your own image alongside it. So it's a great way for you to get, you know, basically, show off your grandmother's recipe and her penmanship and her amazing penmanship. Sorry, I hope that answered your question, Kelly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, good.
Anyone else?
Okay, let me see. Super fun. I've seen people do collage work and incorporating. I have seen, I do sometimes work with collage as well. Um, I think that if, again, it's like what we were talking about earlier with your grandmother's, recipe, maybe you don't want to touch the original, you want to sort of, archive that, but you can certainly photograph it. Again, it's like blow it up, maybe you print it out on some beautiful paper or something, and then collage it into your piece. um, that would look amazing. Then you could use like mixed media, and you can really do whatever size you want. You could do like on a poster if you wanted. You could do, I know a lot of people who have recipe books from their relatives. This would be such a beautiful gift. You add your artistic flair, um, and that's your contribution, and then you have your beautiful recipe to the side of that. Or maybe even have like, you just do a beautiful finished piece of the recipe, and then you have on the other side, like a double spread, you have your grandmother's recipe on the side of that. So it's kind of like, this is me, and then this is my relative. So it's another really beautiful way to, keep the tradition going. Did anybody have any other questions, or did you have any recipes that you wanted to talk about? What would be a good way to tackle it?
Okay, well, I can show mine that I just kind of threw together here while we're talking.
Okay.
Uh,
Kelly, you work fast.
I know, I do. Well, okay, so let me just chop up the crappy bottom line, whatever
I'm
the.
surprised you didn't do lutefisk.
Well, I know I was gonna, but then I realized I don't have that recipe. Good thing I don't. Yeah, I know I illustrated a
You
book
know,
called Real Norwegians Eat Lutefisk.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
do the porridge one. So this is the porridge that I really like, Norwegian porridge. It's called rømmegrøt. And so I don't know if you cross both O's or not, but anyway, so I put rømmegrøt, but I also put Norwegian porridge because to say what it is. And then I want to integrate the word in there better and highlight that. But right now
Yeah.
I've decided to put, there's only 4 ingredients, which I like because it's super simple. So they got whole milk, and then I put underneath how much, 1 quart, flour,
Hmm.
1 cup, we got butter, and that's a half cup, and then 1/4 cup of sugar. And then my kid loves tons and tons and tons and tons of cinnamon on the top. So I kind of did what she was talking about, how
Beautiful.
I have the finished product at the
Hmm.
bottom, and then just kind of the ingredients. And then I
Yes.
decided to actually put a couple directions down here, which you mix that
Perfect.
too, and then you scald the milk.
Hmm.
And yeah, the little flag in the middle. But I don't
I
like
love
the
it.
position right now, but
Yeah. I
I would
might
like to do
write
something.
butter on top of the stick.
Yeah. So it's
Like I
not
would
just a,
write butter.
a square, a rectangle. Okay.
So you could even add like in that little area that you have near your quart and your title, you
Hmm.
could even um add splatters of cinnamon, or you could even add like, if there's on like our Norwegian flower or bird or something like that, you could actually add something that's traditionally Norwegian to that little area, almost like
Yeah,
or like the kind of like the way you would garnish something.
yeah,
So,
it's a good
or
idea.
like, you know, or
Troll, maybe a little troll up there
a little troll would be perfect
in Ulana style.
in a little outfit that's like cinnamon colored.
Yeah, we'll name him
Name him. Yeah.
Jose. No, Jose, the Norwegian cinnamon troll.
There you go. Wonderful. No, Kelly, this is great.
Thank you.
Exactly. This is exactly right.
Awesome. Anyone else have a recipe that they're, or at least a title they could share?
Someone at Alchemy wrote making recipe cards with little doodles. That's an excellent idea. Can you imagine like giving somebody a box of recipes and each recipe has like beautiful little handwriting and doodles on it? I would go crazy. I would cry. I would burst into tears if somebody gave me something like that.
That's awesome.
French toast.
Oh,
Oh,
Alchemy's showing. Let me zoom in for you, Alchemy. I'm going to replace the spotlight so we can see. I can see some doodles there.
those are so sweet.
See some bottles, and I see a measuring cup.
There you
Alchemy.
go.
Ah, good job. And Lucy,
Yeah, one of the things was showing us green suburbia. Yes. Um, that's okay. If you have something that's very brand specific, um if this is just like a personal recipe, that's fine. You can put that in there. If you don't want to, what you could do is think of it in terms of like, okay, let's say that I have to use Crisco for a recipe. Is Crisco is like in a little blue container, right? With like it has like a very specific lettering on there. So what you can do is like have the Crisco blue, have like in the specific container it comes in, and then just have a kind of obscured white lettering that would be, and most people when they see that, they're like, wait a minute, that looks just like Crisco. Or you could just write Crisco on it, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's
they're
I don't
probably not going to sue you if
yeah,
you're
that Crisco
advertising
people are not going to
for
come
them.
after you, I don't think.
But like kind of like what I did with the flour and the milk.
Yeah,
I put a color on it, but not a brand. And
yeah,
flour has a little thing, but it doesn't say whatever flour company.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there's just ways to kind of get around that where like it looks enough like it, but it's not exactly it. And so people would still recognize it because we're such visual people that most people would just recognize. You mean it's like you see a can of Coke from across the room, you know that it's Coca-Cola because it's red and it has like a little bit of white lettering on it. So
Right, because there is definitely copyright issues, but I think that, there you got to find that fine line from recognizable but not suable.
right, right. And anyway, if you're again, it's like if this is just for personal use, it's fine, you know? If you're thinking about manufacturing 1,000 shirts and selling them commercially, that might be another situation, either, with a recipe on them or something like that. So,
Does
um,
anyone have any other recipe to share with us? We got about 4 minutes left. If anyone wants to share their recipe, raise your hand. Just the title of something you're thinking about or the genre of food.
yeah. Yeah, and I would say a lot of companies are pretty especially with social media now, they're so I mean, they're open to like yeah, you're like promoting their product, really. They're like, this is Crisco, and I use Crisco in all my recipes, so it's like you're not really profiting off, you're like really promoting them. There's definitely brands out there that do go after people, but I don't think that, as long as you sort of make it ambiguous enough, I think that you'll be fine.
Awesome. Well, my mom used to save Crisco containers and use them to put stuff in.
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
Like pens and markers and paper
Yep.
clips and
No, they held up good after all these years.
yeah.
Ulana, thank you so much. This was fun, and I'm sure you guys are thinking about recipes that you can illustrate here.
Yeah.
We just love this. This was a great illustration part of our series.
Yeah. And maybe send them to Kelly and I just said could send them to me. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. So much fun.
Yeah, and we'll post them on the Cabin Fever Reliever site so people can
Oh,
see
good.
what we created. So if you guys
Good.
want to do that, and we were recording this session, so people can watch it later too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, but I think we have one more question in the chat.
Um,
I love art and cooking, so yeah, says alchemy.
yeah. I love art and cooking also.
Thank you so very much for coming and doing
Thank
this session.
you.
And please
We
fill out
really
the
appreciate
survey.
it.
I'm going to send a survey after, so please fill that out for us.
Please
Thank
fill
you
the
so much.
surveys out. I use them to get us more money. Thank you. And Alna, I love your glasses. They're super styling.
Oh, thank you.